What is the African Continental Free Trade Area, and what are the main objectives behind the formation of the African Continental Free Trade Area? The continent of Africa has many regional economic communities or blocks, if you may. Why was it necessary to form a continent-wide, economic trading bloc? So the discussions, the formation of African Continental Free Trade Area took place under the auspices of the African Union, or the AU, if you may. And the discussions were mooted way back in the year 2012, but the formal discussions started under the AU in 2015, with the agreement being signed by the member states in 2018. So what is the main objective? Why do we need the Afcfta? The principal objective behind the formation of the Afcfta was to address the low volumes of intra-African trade. So basically, the main objective behind the Afcfta is to improve intra-African trade. And for African countries to achieve this, then it means that the African countries must address the trade barriers that have led to this, low intra-African trade. You will notice that there are already many regional economic communities within the continent, and there is what we normally refer to as the spaghetti bowl of membership to the REX. We have the East African Community, we have the COMESA, we have SADC, we have ECOWAS, we have AEMU, and so on and so forth. There are quite a number of them in the continent. And so in order to consolidate the gains that have been made under this REX, the approach that then the member states of the African Continental Free Trade Area took was to use the regional economic communities within the continent as building blocks towards the formation of the Afcfta. And so currently, in terms of membership of the African Continental Free Trade Area, there are 54 countries that have signed. Actually, there's only one African country that is yet to sign. There were discussions that they would be signing soon, and that is Eritrea. Other than Eritrea, the rest of the African countries have been able to sign the African Continental Free Trade Area. And so what is the approach that the African Continental Free Trade Area has given to formation of a regional economic bloc? As I've already mentioned, there's the approach of use of REX, the existing REX, as building blocks, and the agreement singles out or picks out 8 regional economic communities within the continent as the building blocks towards the African Continental Free Trade Area. The way the Afcfta is organized is that we then have the principal agreement, which is the agreement for the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area, as the main legal framework forming the foundation of the free trade area. And then under the agreement, we then have protocols. We have a total of 8 protocols under the African Continental Free Trade Area. And so we have the protocol on trade in goods, we have the protocol on trade in services, we have the protocol on competition policy, we have the protocol on investment policy, we have the protocol on intellectual property rights, we have the protocol on digital trade, we have the protocol on women and youth in trade, and we have the protocol on trade in services, a total of 8 protocols. Sorry, the 8th one is the protocol on rules on dispute settlement. So we have a total of 8 protocols, and under each of these protocols, we then have annexes that are negotiated under each of these protocols. For instance, Under the trade in goods, we have annex dealing with rules of origin. We have the tariff schedules under the trade in goods. We have dealing with annex dealing with trade remedies and so on and so forth. We have exchange of schedules again under trade in services. We have different protocols under the IPR and different protocols under digital trade. Actually, the annexes under the digital trade protocol were recently adopted under the AU summit a few weeks ago in Addis Ababa. And therefore, this is the legal framework for the formation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We also have under the Afcfta, what is referred to as the Guided Trade Initiative. Basically, trade is now happening or has commenced under the African Continental Free Trade Area. And under the Guided Trade Initiative, the countries that have already, submitted their schedules of commitment, tariff schedules, so to speak, have, are free to trade under the Guided Trade Initiative. And this was piloted, and then now more countries are able to join the Guided Trade Initiatives. And many other, initiatives under the Afcfta that would then be rolled out to be able to realize the main objectives under the Afcfta. And therefore, under each of these protocols, we've had negotiations by member states. And so what happens is that when negotiations are happening under a particular protocol or under a particular annex, the Secretariat of the Afcfta, which is based in Accra, Ghana, develops the first draft, of course informed by studies and also representations from member states. They develop the first draft, what is referred to as the zero draft, which is then shared by member states. And therefore, member states discuss this, to show whether their interests are taken care of. And, changes happen in negotiations and rounds of negotiations until a final text is developed and adopted. And so, as Regiolex Consulting Limited, we've been able to participate in the process of these discussions at the national levels of the member states. And so when these drafts are sent out, we've been able to engage with the member states in terms of discussing the implications, the texts and the implications of each of these provisions as it comes to the specific needs of these countries. You realize that even within the continent, we have very different, national needs. Even within the continent, we have countries that are fairly, you'd say industrialized, fairly well industrialized than the others. For instance, you're talking of economies like South Africa, you're talking of economies like Egypt, you're talking of economies like Kenya that have fairly, developed their industries or the manufacturing sectors, as opposed to, smaller economies, smaller economies like one would mention Burundi, like South Sudan, And so when it comes to negotiations, the interests of South Sudan, for instance, would be very different, or would be, slightly different from the interests of a fairly developed one like South Africa. And so what we do at Regiolex is that we then help, we help countries to develop country positions on some of these negotiations. We take them through the texts of these annexes and these protocols, and also do studies and comparisons with the similar provisions in other recs within the continent and outside the continent, to basically now help to develop national negotiation positions. So we've done this practically in all the 8 protocols that I've mentioned, and also in the annexes to these protocols. And so as the negotiations continue, because then there are the annexes that are still being negotiated under different protocols, we continue, to provide or to offer these services in terms of, development of national negotiation positions. We also engage with the private sector when it comes to the African Continental Free Trade Area. Yeah, we engage with the private sector as well. And so what we do with the private sector is that we take the texts of these protocols and annexes and break them down to sector-specific interests. For instance, when you're looking at a sector like the automotive sector, how does the protocol on trade in goods address or support development of the automotive industry in the continent? And so we are able to break down these protocols to the sector-specific and show them how the opportunities that will then be offered under these sector-specific protocols or provisions in these particular protocols. When you look at, for instance, the Trade in Services protocol and the negotiations, the exchange of schedules that has happened under this particular protocol, you realize that the Trade in Services protocol offers a very good platform for development of services as a market for trading services within the continent. And so how do we address the challenges that have been there in terms of the movement of professionals, in terms of recognition of academic qualifications, in terms of establishment, what is referred to as Mod 3, trading services, and so on and so forth. And so we are able again to take the protocol on trading services and the annexes and break it down to particular professionals or professions to say, if this is the financial services industry, for instance, how does the trade in services protocol affect, for instance, a bank, a Kenyan bank that wants to establish in South Africa? How does the trade in services protocol assist or offer, advantages or avenues through which those challenges can be addressed? And so for this kind of services or kind of, approaches to the protocol, and also breaking them down to know what are the opportunities, what are the challenges, and what needs to be addressed. We do this both with the government and with the private sector. Thank you.